From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Tuesday, June 16th, 2015. Silver is trading at $16.02 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,183 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $241. Antiwar.com reports UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon is pushing for another humanitarian ceasefire in Yemen as the Geneva talks get underway, saying a 2-week ceasefire for the start of Ramadan would allow large amounts of aid into the increasingly desperate country struggling under a Saudi-led naval blockade. The early news out of Geneva is not looking good, however, with the Saudi-backed exile government saying they are willing to discuss a limited ceasefire, but only if the Houthis agree to surrender every major city in the country as a condition. The Houthis have been pushing for an unconditional ceasefire and have been keen on restarting transitional talks, which effectively crumbled in January with the resignation of President Hadi, whose forces the Saudis are trying to reinstall militarily. The Hadi remnants don't appear keen to talk transition, however, at least not from their current weak position. While the first offer is obviously going to be rejected, the fact that the two sides both entered the talks at all shows a tacit recognition that a military victory simply is not going to happen, and that eventually they're going to have to come to terms. For over 35 years, Robertson Roberts has been a trusted source for buying and selling your investment-grade precious metals. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and permanently removed the minimum purchase order for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Robertson Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on investing and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 850-478-5270 or online at rrbi.co. UPI reports even though cannabis was legalized in Colorado, it has not been at the federal level. Therefore, companies can fire employees for using the substance, according to the Colorado Supreme Court. Brandon Coates, a quadriplegic medicinal cannabis patient, was fired in 2010 from his job as a telephone operator for Dish Network after testing positive for the substance. Dish never suggested Coates had worked stoned or used cannabis on the job, but dismissed him because of its no-tolerance policy for substances. Lawyers for Coates argued that Colorado law states it's illegal for workers to be terminated for participating in lawful activities off the job. A trial court and a court of appeals dismissed the claim, siding with Dish Network that medicinal cannabis use is not a lawful activity covered by termination laws. The Colorado Supreme Court upheld the earlier decisions. The panel of judges wrote in the opinion, the Supreme Court holds that under the plain language of Colorado's lawful activity statute, the term lawful refers only to those activities that are lawful under both state and federal law. Therefore, employees who engage in an activity such as medical cannabis use that is permitted by state law but unlawful under federal law are not protected by the statute. A statement on Coates' lawyer's website said the ruling, though devastating for them, was important because there was previously no legal precedent for how a company could handle an employee who uses medicinal cannabis. In Survivor Max by Davi Barker, 11-year-old Max must survive the zombie apocalypse alone in New Hampshire. Slow-moving and non-thinking, the lame brains swarm his home searching for living flesh. Max must apply his Porcupine Freedom Scouts training to plan his escape, but first he must prove that he's too smart to die. Look for Survivor Max on Facebook and Amazon, or read Chapter 1 free at survivormax.com. Reuters reports a California judge has ruled that the state is obligated to pay $331 million in mortgage relief funds it used to bolster its finances, but stopped short of ordering that the money be turned over to homeowners hard hit by the mortgage and foreclosure crisis. Instead, Judge Timothy Frawley of Sacramento County Superior Court, in his ruling on Friday, said it is up to Governor Jerry Brown and lawmakers to come up with a plan to return $331 million that was part of the $25 billion national mortgage settlement of 2012 when the state has money available to do so. Robert Naisda, general counsel for the three groups that brought the lawsuit, said now that the California budget has swung to a surplus and Brown and lawmakers are debating what to do with it, the state is in a position to begin making payments. He said groups that sued California over the funds are seeking meetings with Brown and top Democrats and Republicans in the state Senate and Assembly on how to move forward with payments. It's not clear if that would be swept up into the budget talks that are currently underway between Brown and lawmakers. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.